It's an interesting concept how we look and see ourselves every single day of our life. And we ask ourselves, what is the ego? Everything that comes out of our mouth is ego and representation. It's how you see it through interpretation. So it's trying to understand how you modify your position, location of direction, right? I was communicating with Airbender and Belinda and Janice and breaking them down into manipulation. Energy manipulation goes a long way through the psychosocial. How is that an ego? Because you created it. So, understanding source is understanding communication. It's number one. I'll say that again. Number one, understanding the ego of a system, that's an ego on its own. Now, you have to understand the positive system, you have to understand the negative system. If you don't understand the positive system of light and you don't understand the negative systems of shadow, you have a problem through your ego. That's an ego on its own because you don't understand the interpretation. So to understand your avatar, because you guys are reaching higher levels into your sectors, vectors, and quadrants and your dimensional system and your intergalactic system, you have to understand what the ego is, right? It's all levels of you. The first thing that comes out of your mouth is its ego on its own because you're creating it. And if you don't understand, you're creating more egos locations of travel. And if you really don't understand position locations, you're creating an anomaly of space. And if you really, really, really don't understand, you're creating dark matter. You create the problem. That's its ego on its own. Now, energy manipulation goes a long way. If you can't travel through light and understand the shadows of dark, you don't understand the positive or the negative system of you. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. That's its ego. Everything that I say is its ego because I'm creating it. So it's all about understanding where the mind has to be, guys. It's got to be in the center of everything of the now. If it's in position, location, line, system, location, but doesn't understand the calculation, that's its ego. Okay. So it's hard to understand these things. That's separation. That's its ego. Anxiety, ego. Depression, ego. Being surprised, that's an ego. It's your determination of what you say next is its ego. So you're always creating an ego, okay, every single day. And the only way to balance that out is all levels of you and how you travel through light and dark. The yin and yang of you, right? So we got a little bit of disturbance. To bring it back to position locations online. It's in calculation modification streams. It's going to come back location. Signal interference, high center locations, all levels of travel. It's unstable, right? But that's an ego on its own. To balance it out is to balance the computer. To balance the computer is to balance the phone. Okay? It has its position, location, and direction. So it's in communication to its high system, right? Bringing these things down is its ego on its own location. So in high center interference and direction locations, truly understand what you're doing through modification line stream. Okay? All levels to its system, rotation to its calculation. All right? So you have to be cautious in what you say because that is all levels of you. Okay? Everything that comes out of your mouth is ego. You have to learn how to balance it out through travels. That's the only way you can get in position, location, and directions. Okay? So there's a lot of interference. It will balance in position, or direction, location. Okay? So we got zoom afterwards in that modification line stream. Okay? Ground your system. Know exactly what you're doing with your calculation. Jill. Yep. Lindsay, Pam, Terry, Airbender, Don, Johnny, Michael. Val. Yep. Peacemaker. Vicky. All levels, Jessica, Anita. Oh, it's good to see new people. Location is calculation. So remember, you are all levels of your own ego. It's how you represent your system locations to your communicationary vessel. And you have to learn how to basically travel through light. You have to learn how to travel through light. And you have to understand the shadows of dark. If you can't have that position, location, line connections, you'll never understand the balance of its ego, right? The balance of the ego is non-existence until you create it, because there's no ego. Mass of nothing is everything of information, right? That's all it is. But you have to find a way to make yourself feel in its connection. And what you're doing in the first place is trying to balance you to move yourself forward, right? That gives you more guidance to understand what you're doing through your energies, vibrations, frequencies, and its harmonics. Okay? So, in that position, location, and directions, all right? So, basically, we have a quiz and a test coming up, all right? So, we're going to go with the quiz line center interference. But before we do that, we are going to go to all levels of calculation and position locations to your ego. Okay. High center and position location of directions, all levels. Everybody see okay? Now there's a lot of interference. Engaging, yeah. If am I moving too fast? Because there's a lot of instability here. Vortexing here and there. Line crossing, line signaling, line rotation, line conditions, that's its ego. If I created its ego, it's the ego on its own. So as soon as you represent your locations of not understanding or anything unsure of, you're creating its ego. Interesting. So it's the computer adaptation line center that has its position location instability, but under the other line center locations, you're fine through your antenna location, right? So it's interesting to look at that. That's the ego on its own. Even though there's interference on this side line position, but you're balanced on that location line condition, there's an ego right there. So you're allowing your ego to move forward, or you're allowing your ego to move back. So if you say, I can't interrupt with my ego, it doesn't matter how you say it. It's all levels of negative and positive, negative. The positive always takes over the negative, but the negative always takes over the positive. There's balance in so many position, location, line connections, but every time you say something, you're creating its ego. You're just trying to understand the interpretation, how it works through the mind system, guys. That's all it is, right? So when you have a clear view and understand the position of location, there's no ego. Ego is only created what you create through your thought. That's an ego on its own, because you don't know what you're going to say next. If you know what you're saying next, that's its ego. That's a POTUS system. So it's position location of light and its position location of dark, which is all levels of shadow and which is all levels of light. So it's truly understand how to use both in position location in the center operation of the now, right? Because the ego doesn't live in the past, the present, and future. It doesn't live anywhere else but inside you. So in that calculation, the ego doesn't exist unless you create it. Multi-pass. Okay? The meaning of life is you. Understanding the core is all levels of you. Understanding the vibration is all levels of you. If you don't get that connection, that's its ego. So it's trying to understand how to master you inside. If you don't understand, that's an ego. Because you're trying to understand what's going on with its ego. How many times have I said ego? That's an ego on its own, which is what? Interfering, glitching. That's another ego. All right. So that's how you have to look at yourself every single day when you wake up. Right. Energy manipulation can be manipulated in so many ways and forms. Right. All right. So as we travel through the ego, you're going to understand the mirror resolution of you through pattern in position, location, and direction. So you're going to draw your line centers in position, location to a mirror. Okay. That's you. That's all levels of you location. It looks like one person, right? But it's perceptions of everyone. All right. There's so many things you can do through imagination. That's an ego on its own. So it's to understand that this is you and this is the mirror of you. This is the other line center. So what's going to happen is you're going to vortex through location to its mirror. You're going to see the other line center of you of light and dark. Okay. So you're going to be in position of miss and match, match and miss, mismatch, match, miss. That's the ego on its system. Okay. So you have to understand the creation of you. That's another ego. But to understand you is all levels of you. That's another ego. So how many times am I saying ego? Every time I say ego, what am I doing? Is it in the positive or is it in the negative me? You guys have to learn how to balance these things out first. The mind has to be all levels of open frequency, but it's got to be an open concept to understand. You can't have clutter of this or clutter of that because that's way, way too much distraction location, right? Because you're offline centering you in position, right? There you go. Now it's off. No interruption, no interference. Now it's back on. Why? Because I said ego. So that's the calculation, how it comes back through vibration. Remember, I'm communicating with my computer through vibration, energy, and frequencies, and it's picking up I connecting to its ego of its vibration. And if there's no ego, there's no problem in that position to its location, right? So I'm just showing you what you guys need to understand, okay? Understanding this, understanding that, okay? That is a cross between hopping the fence and not understanding. So this is positions where I'm going to stay off the fence line. I'm not going to jump over because I'm not ready. That's an ego. Everything that you do is ego. So you have to understand what the ego is. It only exists if you allow it to exist. The cycle interference location of clocking has to understand the light of you and the position of how you use your triangles of 3, 6, 9 and pattern. All right? If you don't know, that's its ego. Okay? All right, so mirror resolution pattern, team line center interference locations coming into all lines, going into high center line connections, sectors, vectors, quads, everything at the interdimensional location, intergalactic high cis locations, correlate high center interference. You're going to walk in frequency line connections in position directions. All right. So you're going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and go into the mirror resolution line connection, position of direction. All right. Travel through. You're going to vortex location. Here we go. Into the mirror. Have fun. 1, 2, 3. Signal interference. High center line connections. 30 minutes. Have fun. All right. So you guys are in the mirror right now. Communicate with your egos. Have fun. All right. So as you're in position locations, trying to understand the resolution location is mirror of you, of its image, of positive and negative. You are in that core line center location to its mirror of its reflection. So it's another reflection of, it's like looking into a looking glass in the other line center location of space. It's the other side of you guys. It's the positive and negative of you. That's the ego. You have to balance out the positive and its negative. That's all. And how you interpret all levels of your thoughts. Right? So once you understand that in position location, which is really fascinating, everything that you create line center interference of directions, this is great stuff. It comes in position location of directions. It's an amazing when you understand through communication. Basically, it highlights its signals, all levels to its position location of direction. High interference, high calculations, all levels of division location, high center interference location. High channels its high line center. And basically, it erases it out in position location of directions. So once you understand the positive of its negative line rotations calculation, you are now living in the simulation of no position locations of its ego. Gone. No ego. No existence. No believing system of trusting location to its ego doesn't exist. It only exists if you allow it to exist. Yin and yang. Okay? All right. So let's get back in position, location, and time frame, time lock centers. Now, I really want to get into the multi-patient circle. It's all about rotation, center, location, and coloration. We come into the hieroglyphic line centers. It's all communication line system, location, position, of time. So let's say we go position, locations, on levels. Now we got 3 triangle force lines, right? There's three triangle force lines, right? Now you got point center, point center, point center, indirect locations, map sequence, position, and time. Correlates highline center to triangulation. See how it comes together? So it's position, location, those directions. All right. So you have to understand how to travel through light. This is light. This is dark. But this is positive and this is negative. But this is positive and this is negative. Huh? Wait. So if the positive overrides the negative and the negative overrides the positive, there's no ego. In position, location, you're allowing yourself to see yourself as an ego. So you're looking at this negative and you're looking at this positive, or you're looking at this positive and this negative. The balance of you is all levels of timeline. It's all position, location, how you use your connections to its lights and its travels of its shadow. All right, so in calculation, there it is, right? So it's very powerful when you come into that position. Now we're going to go through a circle line center and rotation center in position of direction, right? So this is going to signal off high center interference, go through correlation of center position location of Fibonacci sequence. All right. It's interesting how you look at the locations of image line center interference on direction locations and platitude division location line streams. Come into calculation high interference location and directions. All right. Now everything I do, is it off balance or balanced? Right? Even though this is offline center. Is it balanced or off balance? I don't know. Are you adding an ego or are you letting it go? You let it go, there's no ego. Move on. All right, so there you go. In that position location, it's in balance. If it's not a balance, you're not sure or you're not understanding. All right? So in that calculation system, this is how it high-rises highline center to triangular force line communication. So in that position locations, you line signal your point dot centers, okay, to position, location, and direction, right? That signals its triangulation line center location, right? That opens up more line center to its triangulation of communication. Hoo-ah. 2 force line triangle locations in position to its circle of its Fibonacci sequence. So balances of U is all levels of point location. Now you can add green dot line centers into 369 pattern. It position location of its directions. It's how you use all levels of U, right? Now those are right. Now you use position location to this online center location of the sun. Sun comes in. If I'm not sure of what I'm doing, that's its ego. Simple, right? So I know what I'm doing, right? Because it's already done. So let me say that again. I already knowing, so I know what I'm already doing, so there's no ego. Okay. So everything that I say, everything that comes out of my mouth, there's no ego. That's the balance. But you got to find it first. So the only way to do that is to balance out your solar text locations and what comes out of your voice grid line centers. So try to understand that if you're looking at A, B's, and C's, but you're not understanding Z in position location, that's its ego. Because you're allowing it to create. If you don't allow it to create, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It only exists if you create it through its program. Right? So if it's a negative line, you got to take it out. If it's a positive line, either you take it out or leave it. Your choice. That's an ego. Mistrusting your communication system doesn't allow you to move forward and travel. Okay? The representation of you is the heart. It's how you see yourself every time you get up in the morning. That's an ego on its own. Now, once you understand the energies and its communication of its grounds and its communication location to its opening, then you come into higher levels. Energy of communication of operation. Whoa. It gets really, really interesting the more you understand what the mind is of the brain system. It has its own adaptation location. The brain and the mind doesn't create anything but love and light. You understand that? It only creates what it wants to create, which is all levels of travel of future of you. It doesn't have an ego. The only ego that comes in is you through creation. So don't create it. No ego. Mass of nothing through the mind system. As soon as you add something in, you can't travel fast through acceleration because you're allowing to defeat the purpose of what you're doing in the first place. Right? So in that position location, the sun comes in. All right? Sun's coming in. Your line signaling line interference. Okay, in position location directions. It's opening all signals to its calculations. It's modifying high center line connections, all levels, and how you use your interpretation. All right. Now it gets a bit more complicated, but it's a lot more fun because you come into the hologram line center and position location of stream interference location of the sun. You center position location to all coloration to its triangulation. Yin and yang. Everything I travel through is yin and yang. Right? So, and that alone allows you to see you where you are. Not what you see, where you are. Not what you see, where you are. That's location. What's the intent? Right? Be careful. It's what you say next. Is it positive or is it negative? So that's understand. You got to balance these things out. And the only way to do that is to travel through light. You have to learn how to travel through light, understand light, correlations of light, panels of light, so many electrical light interference. So understanding that through calculation of Fibonacci to a black hole line connections, all levels of triangulation, the force line center, communication, the sun line center, everything in the positive location comes in negative. Positive business location and calculation. Right? Wow. So in that calculation line center, try to understand that when you're traveling, you are traveling through line center location of its own position, location, and direction. Right? So it's about moving forward. It's about getting abundance. It's about manifesting. It's not worrying about this. It's not worrying about that. That alone is its own position location of disruption. Okay? You are allowing yourself to put yourself in a situation, or you're allowing yourself not to put yourself in a situation. It's up to you. That's an ego. So that's the determination of what you say is next through the positive and negative you. Okay? So to balance that out is to truly understand the triangulation to position location to its ground system, its crop circle location. Right? A position location of its directions. High forces line center. Why do you think you have XT thousands come in? See? They come in position location directions and scans everything through the center operation. Communication to its ground system. Now, everything that you say has to be positive because the positive is position of higher farce, of higher calculation. Hold on a second. So, understand you is to totally understand the relation of you, the communications of you, the position of where you are in direction to its location. So, if you can't find a way to get in a relationship with yourself, you are creating your own anomaly of space and time. Right? It's what you say next. And that's why you're so programmed to not know what's going on. It's because you're trying to understand you through memory. So you're trying to understand the positive and the negative, because that's the existence of the now. To understand that is the travels of light and dark. Light and dark. Light and dark. There's a shape, but it's dark. I'm traveling. See the shape change? Watch, it's changing. You see, that's travel. See the 3 line centers? That's calculated line center location imagination to Orion's belt. Change position. Line screen, line connection all levels. Materialistic high center line rotation of plasma. Communication triangles. High levels of travel location, right? So that's from a map. This is a map. It's not a shirt, it's a map. Everything is a map of equation. It's how you use it through your positive negative system. Because the positive and the negative is its position location to all levels of you. It's how you use it in all formation. All right? So once you understand the positive and the negative, now you can get into the line connections of travel. Traveling here, traveling there, traveling up here, traveling down here, right? 4 position location of directions, 4 arrow line centers in calculation to its direction, right? Coming into a positions to a diamond line system to its position location next to 1,000 line, and 2 line positions, 4 position location calculations, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. So in position of directions, remember, everything that you do, they scan in the center operation before you move on, right? So that's where you understand the calculation of that system, where they communicate with each other. See? So what are you co-creating? What do you need to know before you co-create the positive and the negative of you through light and dark? Releasing all line position locations of shadows of you and understanding the travels of the miraculous line center, the spectrum interference location of lights of you. Then you understand the energy and manipulations of positive and negative of yourself and everyone. But that's the only way you see yourself. You create something that's good, or you create something that is bad. But you're allowing yourself. That's its ego. Because there's nothing created bad. It's only what you perceive through perception. So this is how we really have to understand how to use this, right? When you're in this position location of travel, you can use line screens. Now, line screen line center location is a position location of its graph. You start with the north line center calculation, so all levels of east line position. Okay, into high center locations of south. 4 box position of T reception lines in calculation, right? So as it's set up in signal, it's traveling through communication of 12 line channels of communication line streams in position location of direction, high positions to its location, right? Satellite at 4 line center of box interference of diversion, all right? So this is the true understanding how you have to learn how to use your 12 DNA track line center location to its coordinates. how to use the correlation line and rotation calculation to its position upstream system. So correlates line center conditions. So you get 7 wave channels, 6 position locations, 3 line in rotations into 2 position. All right. Now, the 2 position location is coordinate. Okay. 2, 3 location to its location. All right. Now it's coming from all different line centers. Is it from the alpha line center? Is it from the delta wave location? Is it from the beta line center? Is it communication of theta interference location of all levels? The high interference location at T reception line, or is it a mega circle location? If it's a mega circle location, it changes its position, location, and direction to its center line connections of Fibonacci sequence. Okay? So if you don't understand the calculation, you're coming into your ego of its existence. Where is it? It's gone. Because I created an ego. Right? So it's not finished, is it? So the ego gets in the way. See how that works? It's not there anymore. It's traveled. Because I'm not communicating. I'm creating an ego. That's what you have to understand what the ego is. Right? To finish anything is to finish a sentence. Let's start that. How are you doing today? How are you doing today? Now, in position location, do we see it as a question? Yes, because that's all we know. That's a program. That's a question. But that doesn't look like a question, but that's how AI identifies its position, location, and vibration, right? This is how you identify a question to its location. That's a question. See the triangulation? AI, physical line. Question. So what is life? If you don't understand life, it's gone. All right? So in position location, it's 1/2 line center. Where's the other half? It needs a completing system, right? So it's got a dark line center of a shadow, but where's the light? It needs its light, a complete system. Ooh-ah. So in position, location, and direction is truly understand how you see yourself through your lights and your darks. Okay? Because the ego can be a box. The ego can be a triangle. The ego can be a cross. The ego can be an X. It can be anything information location. But is it in the positive or is it in the negative? It's all up to you. So you create what you want to create. All right. So you got the cross line center in position locations, waving system line connections of sonar line and rotation calculation of 4 waving locations. All right. That's the alpha channel. Communication triangulation 4 line center pyramid interference, laser dark location to its elixir, high center line coloration to laser location to position locations calculations. 4 line center round position location of rainbow interference location of delta wave communication system. All right. Calculation of box interference location. This is comes into beta. Beta communication of waving centers of water line center location calculation. All right. Now high line center to X line center in position location T force line center measures communication on levels of the scale. Scales line center location line connections communication line center interference in position location top in position location at bottom. Now, in calculation in the positive locations, is this in the positive line center of its ego, or is this in the positive line center of its position location negative system? Is this positive negative? Is this positive or negative? It's line cross location of balance. Ooh-ah. See? So it's not neither below or it's not neither below. It's balance of position locations of yin and yang location to its calculation. Ooh-ah. See? That's how it works. The 6 line center location 9. 2 fish line interference location, a circle interference location, line direction location, sonar. All position location of calculation. Done through equation. So it's important you understand these things because you're going to be using this application every single day through its avatar. It's how you travel through the mind system. Gives you everything you need and all levels of observation, right? Seeing things for what they are, right? So if you're trying to communicate with the hand in position, where's the other hand? That's an ego because you're trying to find out where it is. No more ego. So we have to find a way to change the variety of its position of its distraction. Because everything that we say creates its ego. So now you guys are introducing your locations, how powerful it is to be into the yin and yang. Okay? So I'm just showing you what it is all through sonar. See, computer communicates that position. So everything has to have balance in life. Everything has to be balanced. Your letters, numbers, and shapes and symbols. Even your thoughts have to be balanced. Your computer, your phone, your TV, your glasses, your hair, everything is balanced. Unless otherwise you say otherwise. Then there's no balance. Then you're in an ego. Do you see what you just finished doing there? You reiterate your words. Okay, is this off balance? It's off balance if I think it's off balance. That's an ego. Is it off balance? I don't know. You tell me. It's all determination. What you say next. Okay? That's the understanding that we don't know. Honesty is the best policy. And that's where it comes into all formation location to its ignorance. The ignorance of you is the understanding of you, is its interpretation, and how you see you inside through its emotion. Right? Manipulation is everything. You have to understand the mastering of you is vibration. You have to understand the mastering of communication to its energy, of its form. You have to master the communication of sonar through frequency. You have to master the harmonics of communication. That's the only way you're going to understand light and dark. There's no other way. There's no other way, right? It's what you say next creates the ego of positive and negative. Do you see how powerful that is? And why we are in all position locations of separation. Not sure if I'm going up, not sure if I'm going down, not sure if I'm going line cross, not sure I'm going this way, not sure I'm going that way. There's an ego right there. Not sure how to travel. So that's how powerful it is. Simplifies everything, doesn't it? Simplicity is the position location. How to use it is another way of operation, right? So your perceiving perception of your own deception. Okay? You can't avoid it. Emotion equals energy, and emotion is alchemy. Yeah, but alchemy is, don't get confused what alchemy is. All right, we'll get into that more. All right, alchemy is more measure, a mixture. It's like hydroponics. It's like putting two fume gases together, line center, and creating a cyclone line interference location and direction to a galaxy system. So don't get confused with that line system, because you're getting too much information that's in a negative system. Okay? You're allowing yourself to trying to figure out what's going on. That's its ego. The only thing you got to balance out is lights of travel and lights of dark. That's it. That's all you got to do. Once you get into the simplicity position location of its directions, it gets much easier through its yin and yang. Okay? All right. Taking your line center location, positive negative interference line connections, all levels, high center interference of direction locations. Bring back communication line center and team interference. Now you're back. All right. So I hope you guys understand a little bit more of what it represents to you into the positive and the negative side in line connection of you inside location. It's how you see your life of all creation, right? The meaning of life. All right. So I hope you guys had fun. We're heading over to Zoom. I'll give you guys 5 minutes to recuperate. Other than that, I'll see you soon for Q&A. Adios.